Welcome back to Dr. Stone Anime Review, episode number 3. Now, this is the first two videos I'm doing in a row because I don't want to discuss the final 11 episode series in one video. So for this one, I'm just discussing 14 to 17. Games and or Dark. Yes. Village Game, simply put, basically, now, after supposedly Kiro beat Magma, turns out, no, he didn't actually beat him. So, yeah, you're checking the rules, see if the Tsukasa's watermelon thing is perfectly acceptable. It's like, it's part of clothing, it's perfectly fine. And then he gets whacked and have Magma losing. And, well, then we have pretty much the next match is Chrome versus, Chrome versus Magma subordinate, his lackey, who is voiced by Sonny Surratt. And they're about to certify, and then from the, oh yeah, Kohaku, who was looking for a Senkotsu, but it turns out, nope, just a big fat lie. So, he's told, just lose. And Chrome beats him easily. And then we have, supposedly it was supposed to be a match between Sengoku and Kohaku, which Sengoku won via fourth because Kohaku was late. And of course, the final match is basically Giro versus some other guy, which beats the crap out of him, though he's able to actually beat him by knocking him out of the ring, despite the fact he's got severely beaten. And he had this thing where, in reality, look in illusion, he's like, "Oh, fine, yeah, we beat him," and of course, in reality, it's like, "Oh, he got basically a bunch of bruises in his face." And he kind of, in a way, loses. Well, basically, the match is kind of declared a draw, because the next match is simply Magma versus Chrome. It's a good fight for a good period of time until Magma himself loses. Yes, Magma loses to Chrome. Chrome nearly dies while fighting him. Then supposedly the final match is supposed to be Chrome versus Sengoku, which Sengoku was supposed to lose, and Chrome was basically win and marry Riri, but because of the fact he was too badly bruised, Sengoku wins by forward, thus becoming Riri's husband and new chief of village. And he's married for her, supposedly, for about 3 minutes before he says, "Yeah, I demand a divorce." Yeah, he does say anything in the manga. So he divorces her, and, they have to get all the alcohol they need to basically make the antibiotics to supposedly cure her of the pneumonia that she has, because she's diagnosed to have pneumonia. And the very next day, they're able to perfect it, and of course they give it to her, and she's fine mostly, and of course she's still sick, so they give her more antibiotics, and then she's fine. And then her father, and of course Kohaku's father, so his sisters, proclaims him as new chief of village. Now, Riri, when she first sees him, it's like, "Your name's Sengoku, right?" "Yeah." "Is your family name?" And he's about to reveal it, but nope. And it turns out the name of the village is Ikasi, which is Sengoku's family name, and he's actually quite surprised the fact that the village is named after him. Well, actually named after his late father, Byakuya Izuku, who they have a flashback of this where they show him basically before the events of the series, well before the events of the series, where in pre-K he was very interested in science. He read almost every single book imaginable about science, and even helped his father get into the astronaut program by helping him to basically swim fully clothed. Make a special electronic suit to help him swim better so he doesn't get a leg cramp. And he does reveal this to people who actually are the review, and from what I can tell, they have no problem with it at all, despite the fact it was a 5th grader who came up with this. But he passed. He may have been helped get over something, but they apparently have no problem with it at all because it's technically not cheating. I mean, overcome a hurdle, becomes an astronaut. Takes a while, and then we jump ahead when Sengoku is in high school. This is probably barely a year before the events of the purification, where he's actually on TV and he talks, and of course the reporter's like, "Oh, it's Byakuya Izzy," and she's blushing at him because he's an astronaut. He's actually the lead of this 3-person crew, which apparently is sort of on a rocket, even though it's present day. Because it's a 3-person crew, even though it's supposed to be this is supposedly said in 2019, which means this space shuttle program is supposed to be still active at this point, and yet it's a three-person crew comprised of himself, a Russian, and an American, who just happens to be a pop singer, a very popular one. And they meet up with the people on board. Now, the Russian is voiced by Patrick Stultz, who gives him a regular Russian accent, which I thought that was so nice, the fact he did that. Now, Lillian, the singer, she's voiced by Caitlin Glass. But here's the thing about it. She doesn't sing. No, she does. The characters sing, but they switch voices. They switch with an actual British voice actress, a British singer, to do the singing parts. Which they have sort of a live concert in space on the International Space Station, believe it or not. Yes, something that's actually real. Yeah, I know of it because I've never been up there. I've seen pictures of this thing, and when I saw this in the manga and seen this in the anime, I was like, wow. Barachi, I think is the name of the guy who actually helped create the manga, who did the artwork. This guy must have basically based upon an actual picture of the damn thing. And the interior looks pretty accurate from other pictures I've seen of the interior of the International Space Station. And having a crew complement, basically with those three on board, making it 6, that is the actual crew complement from what I've heard of the International Space Station, because it's very tiny. And apparently these 6 astronauts were actually on board at the same time. Now, it also turns out, though, that Connie, she's actually the only person on board. There's actually a couple on board and a girl who's actually a big fan of Lillian's, which she gives her an autograph. And play as background music and have her sing, perform a live concert, which I thought was so nice. And we see that Yuri, Toya's love interest and one of Segoya's closest friends, she actually watching her live concert in space. And of course they have like some ramen, and they're up there for what seems like maybe a couple days. And that's when the purification happens. And apparently they witness this all from space. And they apparently don't know what's going on. They can't get anything on Twitter. Yes, they mentioned Twitter. And then they're like, okay, what about live feed? It's like, that's still running. And then they see what is a big shocker. The whole world, all the people on the planet turned to stone. The entirety of the 7 billion population of the human planet of Earth is turned to stone. They're basically seen as like a soccer stadium, various places over the world. So they need to find a place they need to get back down from the space station. So 3 people go. It's the Russian, Connie, and I believe Lily get a chance to go down too. So they get down there and butt their crap basically in upside down. And then Byakuya basically was once on board, but he came down. It took him 10 hours, which, yeah, that seems perfectly reasonable for get from the International Space Station to down to what I think is the Pacific Ocean. They rescue up to an island which they think is outside the purification range. They find one person is purified, and this area is where these 6 people help found the village that Sengoku finds in present day. And the Russian and Connie get married, and of course they had some kids. Lily, of course, sings at the wedding because she's. And it seems as though also that Connie and Lily become very close friends, that's quite nice. And it's very heavily implied that Byakuya got married to Lillian, though most of the astronauts. Now, what happens to the couple? It's not explicitly explained because they're lasting off on a rowboat to try to go to some nearby land to get some antibiotics for Connie, who suffered from pneumonia, and then the Russian dies of pneumonia as well. I think his name is Dmitri. I kind of forgot the guy. I know he's voiced by Patrick Stultz. He gets pneumonia, so Byakuya gets all the kids. Lillian, it's implied these two become together, and these two are now. It's very heavily implied that Kohaku and Riri and their father are descendants of her because blondes, and they almost look exactly like them. Yep. And it's told via the 100 Tale. So, yeah, and then it's later shown that, well, he's apparently the last one who passes away. Because it's kind of unknown exactly, because they don't say what happened to the couple. Because it turns out that the Connie, the Russian, and the Lily all died of pneumonia. But in the case of the couple, never reveal what happened to them. They just left the island, and it's implied they never came back, supposedly. And the kids that these people had, They all stayed in the island, and these kids became, well, descendants over the course of 3,700 years, the present day. Of course, this happens right after Riri is cured of, well, basically treated for her pneumonia, and her father instantly proclaims Segoya as a new leader, the chief of the village. And of course, she takes him to a supposedly a cemetery. Though they actually go back to this in like the final episode of the season. And well, with him as the village chief, basically, they need to do something next. Well, they're celebrating and become chief, and that's where the thing ends. I will discuss more about that in the very next episode, which I'll do next. Yeah, these two arcs are really good and very important series, and they're quite interesting to say the least. But the next, now, in case you wondering about the Village Origins arc, Village Games covers chapters 33 to 40, while Village Origins covers chapters 41 to 45. Yep, the next arc itself is only just 5 chapters. It's told over the course of 2 episodes. But I will discuss more about that in the next one, okay? So in episode 4, which we'll discuss the last 2 arcs of season 1. Bye.